Well, our EP-PDP group is together with its first PowerPoint. By now you have, YouTube. By now you have received through Blackboard my introductory letter to you. I was a little long-winded, but as I told you in that note, I am very excited about this course. I think we finally got it right. I could do, and there's material to do 15 weeks on each, but that is putting too much in your hands right now. And I think when the time comes for you to do your concept paper, you will be thankful that you have a full 15 weeks to pull that together. So this first introduction has a set of PowerPoint slides that are collaborative. Dr. Woodland, Dr. Ball, myself, Dr. Link all had input, and we're trying to walk you through this. A couple things that I would suggest as you go through those slides. I'd like to get a reaction from you, obviously. That's part of your assignment. But one of the things as you go through that, there's some stuff raised that's important. For example, you've now gotten that document that was attached to that email. They did not give me that when I was building the course, but you've got it. I don't want, there's a law, federal law, against my demanding too much self-disclosure. So I'm not going to do that. Share with me what you wish, but the thing I want you to do, it's very, very important. If you haven't yet done a personal assessment of strengths and weaknesses, personal strengths and weaknesses, please do that as soon as possible. Why? Because that's what we're here for. The beauty of this program is that our goal, and you've got some fine people to work with, I'll absent myself, but the names I mentioned earlier, now we're blessed with Dr. Spade, is to fine-tune your strengths and remediate whatever weaknesses you bring. There won't be very many if this cohort, I've seen you, I know there aren't any, and each of these cohorts all seems to be very, very high quality, and I'm happy. I don't think you're going to regret having 15 weeks to do this. Once you get started, you have 7 weeks roughly to do the electronic portfolio and another 7 to pull together your professional development plan. I prefer, now you can do what you want. I recommend you use a 3-5-7 year plan. 3 years from now, you should have your degree under your belt. You should be either moving up the ladder where you are or starting to look outside of where you are for something that allows you to use the skills and knowledge that you've developed in our program, in CCLDP. One of the nice things, and Dr. Lincoln and I don't exactly agree, that's okay. I want you to do the EP first, and there's a reason for that. I want you to expect to turn it in at the end of Module 7, and I would expect you to be prepared to make some adaptations to it as you go through your CDP, your Career Development Plan. What I draw an analogy to is it's very much like LinkedIn. I don't know how many of you are on LinkedIn. I am. I know a number of people in our various cohorts are because I'm linked into them. But that gives you a chance to see that your EP it's a journey. It's never a destination. It's ongoing. And when something changes in your life, when you achieve something, when you get an honor, you automatically update your EP. And I think that's very, very critical. Another thing that's important, there's a note in one of the slides that says members of CCLDP have far more artifacts that they can work with than they think they do when this starts this. Now, it's the third time I've taught this course, and I could not agree more. But I want to share one other thing with you. Some of you who have worked with me before have heard about Steve Brookfield. He is a kind of a mentor of mine. And Steve has a quote that I oftentimes use, and it says, when you're looking at things like building an EP or looking at your strengths and weaknesses, remember that reflection is as important as selection. So you've got a list of these things that you've done, skills that you can document that you have. Before you decide which ones to include and how to include them, please reflect. That's, I think, a very, very important thing. Why is all of this so important? Well, I'll tell you one thing. I have been an accreditor as an official accreditor for 2 accrediting associations. And I served as a team member when a third visited one of the universities I worked for. And very often, when you have accrediting teams coming in, whether they're regional, meaning middle states, or for some of you who are like in North Carolina or Florida or some in Cincinnati, you will use either North Central or Southern. They will want to look at your EPs. In fact, you'll impress them that you have them, because what we're trying to do is to see the linkage between mission, vision, and values of the institution and the skill levels and the knowledge bases of the people dealing with those things. So like I said, you're in a good situation. One of the things we agreed to include in this set of slides is quotes from people who have taken this course before. And what I'd like you to reflect on, I'm a big person on this action, reflection, action thing. Think ahead as you go through module 1, 2, 3, 4, to eventually 14 with your EP and your PDP. What would be your final benediction, in quotes, for this course? We tried to include some from a wide variety of individuals with quite a series of activities. Okay, one of the slide items, and it's almost like when they were teaching, if you ever had a journalism course, who, what, when, where, why, you've got 5 W's. Take a look carefully at those W's. It's a kind of a tool when you're looking at the artifacts you're going to select. Can you fit them under that broad umbrella? And if someone were to quiz you, like an accrediting team member, well, you said this. Now, what did you mean by that? Or why did you include that and not this? So if you've thought through that, you're in a situation where a couple things are possible. One, please take the proverbial bushel off your light. Don't be afraid to give yourself some credit for what you've done, for what you've accomplished. But at the same time, I know no one that I know in that cohort, and that's like all but I think 2 people, come across as braggarts. That's the worst thing in the world. One of my former presidents used to have a phrase taken, I believe, from the Old Testament. He said, I can't stand people who are constantly demonstrating that they are the great I am. So be careful, reflect, but don't be afraid to give yourself some credit. I think that's important. Another thing to think about from a technological point of view, and in the little note, I gave a good friend a little stroke because she's excellent, our friend Karen. When you start to think about putting this together, obviously, you can have it on a CD. I think, I'm not an expert on LinkedIn, but you could conceivably have it there. One of my students from the first time I taught this course is a pretty sophisticated guy. He has taught a lot, part-time. But he also, his career was as a writer for the Chicago Tribune. And he has his own website. If that's viable for you, it's great. Because that means you can send someone a link and say, here is my EP. Now, if there's specifics that you want or need, please go send me an email, contact me through that website, and I can send you what you need as you look for perhaps a better job. Okay, a couple things I'd like you to do. I haven't really made the assignments that are under assignments dated or timed, and there's a reason for that. If you remember my very first announcement, it says, the beauty of this course is its creativity. And you're a lot of very creative people out there. Take a look at Dr. Barrett. She is the grande dame of this business and has been forever. From when I first taught this course for Hood College more than 10 years ago. She was the one that I was introduced to, and I continue to use her material. And I've linked you to a number of her things. Start to explore those and see how what she's suggesting to you, you can actually use as you go through what you're doing. Just I want to give you just a very brief overview and, shall we say, previews of coming attractions. I should probably have renamed this stuff, but I didn't. Have the introduction, and then Module 1, if you were to think of the introduction as a module, that would make Module 1 Module 2. I'm not doing this to confuse you. But what I want you to look at, I've worked a little bit in my days with Middle States with a number of people. One of the real leader states in Middle States is New York. And Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, or RPI, or as they call themselves, Rensselaer, makes a lot of use of their technology. So as you look at those slides, it's a good template to use, and I'll have more to say about that in our next YouTube. But have yourselves a great Labor Day. Look forward to hearing from you when we start to use the discussion board. Thank you.